Chapter 341. The socialite stroked her finely manicured nails and looked at Ningxi's beautiful little face. Her face was gloomy. Now, kneel down and apologize to me. Promise that you won't think about other men anymore. Then, crawl out of this bar, and I'll call it a day. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving tonight. You offended our Miss Lee and still want to leave? It's not that easy. As soon as she finished speaking, a group of thugs from the socialite surrounded her. Ningxi glanced at those thugs and quietly cracked her knuckles. Haha, Sister Lan, what's wrong with this lady? Why are you so angry? At this time, Child Lee, who had been drinking at the VIP seat, suddenly stepped over. He looked at the socialite and said with a smile, "Hey, Child Lee." Seeing him, the socialite's face softened. Don't you dislike this kind of poor and cheap prostitute? Why do you suddenly speak for her today? Sister Lan, I like this lady very much. Please don't embarrass her for my sake. Child Lee behaved like a gentleman. Child Lee likes her? The socialite was stunned and then came to her senses. Well, since Child Lee likes her, there's nothing else to say. With Child Lee's ability, you can pay at least 50,000 for one night. I really don't know why she is so lucky. Several women beside her snickered when they heard this. Child Lee was famous for being a pervert in bed. He had played many women to death. If Child Lee took a fancy to her, she would suffer. But as long as he had money, it didn't matter to such a woman, right? Miss, 50,000 for one night. Come with me. Otherwise, if you offend Sister Lan, it will be difficult for you to leave Carlos Bar. Child Lee looked determined. He walked towards Ningxi like a hero saving the beauty and wanted to hold Ningxi's hand. The next second, with a bang, Ningxi moved slightly and directly hit away young Master Lee's outstretched hand. You! Being rejected on the spot, Child Lee's face suddenly became gloomy. Young Master Lee didn't need to say anything. His supporters and his family's thugs had quietly surrounded them. Thus, the current situation was that Ningxi was directly facing off against two groups of people, and the atmosphere was on the verge of exploding. So lively tonight? Amidst the clamorous and chaotic air, a chilly voice that was like an icicle suddenly resounded out, and it was like a strand of Sanskrit that refreshed the heart and refreshed the mind. In an instant, everyone looked in the direction behind Ningxi, dumbfounded. Ningxi also froze. What was this voice? Demon King. As soon as Lu Tingxiao appeared, the socialites at the front were stunned. This man, who had suddenly appeared, could no longer be described with just the word handsome. His every movement was filled with nobility, and it seemed that just a cold gaze from him was enough to make people fall for him, unable to extricate themselves. Oh my God! Who was this man? So handsome. What's important is not just being handsome, it was an aura. It was too imposing, okay? That's awesome. I thought that Chengyun was already manly enough. In front of this man, he's simply not enough. At this moment, Miss Wang in the middle was staring blankly at Lu Tingxiao, her cheeks flushed red. The man in front of her was like a god, exactly the same as the ideal man in her dreams. With just a glance at him, the little fresh meat companions she was so proud of all turned into trash. Chapter 342. Seeing that Ningxi was also staring at the man who had suddenly appeared, the socialite sneered. Do you think you have the right to look at a man like this? Ningxi was speechless. She had been brain-dead for the entire night. Mr. Lu, what can I do for you? Then, the manager of the bar rushed over and approached the man attentively. This Carlos Bar was operated by the Lu Group. The manager had only met this mysterious boss once. Because his impression of him was too deep, he was able to recognize him at a glance. The manager knew that this boss didn't like others to know his identity, so he only addressed him as Mr. Lu. Put the bill for all the customers tonight on me, Lu Tingxiao said calmly. Okay, no problem. The manager replied immediately. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone in the bar cheered. In fact, just by looking at the manager's nervous attitude, one could tell that this person was definitely a rich and powerful person. Looking at the way he attacked, it was even more certain. The socialite had been eyeing Lu Tingxiao greedily since the beginning. At this moment, when she saw how generous the man was, she could no longer hold it in. Her heart pounded violently as she walked up to him. So it's Mr. Liu. I'm Wang Ruolan from Wang's group. May I know where Mr. Liu is working? May I have the honor of having a private chat with Mr. Liu and a few drinks? With such a handsome appearance, an enchanting temperament, and a terrifying amount of wealth, the bill of all the guests tonight would add up to tens of millions, but the man in front of her didn't care at all. Which part of him wasn't deeply enchanting? Moreover, his surname was Liu. Could he be related to the legendary Liu family in the capital? Lu Tingxiao glanced at the socialite and said indifferently, "You have to ask someone about this. As long as she agrees, I have no objections." "Ask who?" the socialite asked immediately. Lu Tingxiao's cold gaze landed on Ningxi. "Ha! Ningxi! Ha! What? Ask this bitch." The socialite was still in a daze. A cold glint flashed across Lu Tingxiao's eyes. "Sorry, miss, please take back your inappropriate words and apologize. She is my most beloved woman." After saying that, as if this sentence was not shocking enough, he added, "It's just a pity that I haven't been able to woo her yet." Your beloved woman?" The socialite screamed in disbelief. How is this possible? Such a man should be compatible with someone of her status. How could he chase after such a dirty woman? You actually like this kind of woman? Do you know how dirty she is? Do you know how many people she has slept with? The socialite couldn't accept this reality. Seeing Lu Tingxiao arguing for her, Ningxi was about to speak when Lu Tingxiao gave her a reassuring look and said softly, "It's okay. Leave it to me." Seeing how gentle Lu Tingxiao was towards Ningxi, the socialite's face turned red. "Mr. Liu, don't be fooled by this kind of person. She's just playing hard to get. She just wants more money." Then he threw all the money and cards in the bag at Ningxi's feet. "Get away from this man. How much money do you want? Name your price." The women next to the socialite chimed in, "Don't people like you just want money? Name your price. Our sister Lan can afford it." Lu Tingxiao watched the socialite throw money like crazy and then said unhurriedly, "Also, apart from being my sweetheart, she is also my superior, my boss. Tonight, she is the one who is treating everyone. So, you're drinking my boss's wine now, but you're insulting her. If it's possible, please spit out the wine you just drank." Then, ignoring the socialite and the others' disbelief, Lu Tingxiao looked at young Master Li, who was already dumbfounded. "And of course, you." Chapter 343. In an instant, everyone present was like a weathered statue, and all of them stood there in a daze. The man in front of them had an extraordinary aura. Just his identity alone was scary enough. But now, this man actually said that the woman they had mistaken for a prostitute was his superior, his boss? In that case, how terrifying was this woman's identity? What kind of big shot did they offend? Crazy, this woman who is his superior? Boss? Did I hear wrongly? How could it be? It must be a lie. But why would he lie to us? There's no need for that. And look at this man surnamed Liu, his attitude towards that woman was really respectful. Could it be that that woman is really his boss? Oh my God. Sister Hong actually kept throwing money at her just now. She's simply asking to be humiliated. In reality, this carless bar was full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Anyone wearing coarse hemp clothing could be a big shot. So, the more they thought about it, the more likely it was. In an instant, everyone was so scared that their faces were drained of blood. They looked at Ningxi as if they had seen a ghost. "Then aren't we finished? I was still saying it just now. It's over, it's over. Me too. This time, we're really going to die." Of all people to offend, they had to offend this kind of person. Everyone's faces were full of horror, but Ningxi's expression was because her heart was too complicated at this moment. There were too many expressions she wanted to express, so she was expressionless instead. However, this expressionless face looked so unfathomable that it made those people tremble in fear. Vomit, still not vomiting. If they didn't vomit, would they be able to leave this bar with their arms and legs intact after offending such a person? In the end, no one knew who was the first to vomit. With a WA sound, he vomited. This vomiting sound was like a signal, and the sound of vomiting could be heard one after another. Although Lu Tingxiao only called out Wang Ruolan and that young Master Li, there were quite a few people who insulted Ningxi just now. Those people's statuses were lower than Wang Ruolan and young Master Li. At this moment, they were the first to vomit. Wasn't it just vomiting? It was better than being unlucky. Looking at the people around her vomiting, Miss Wang's face turned ashen. She slowly raised her head and glanced at Lu Tingxiao, as if hoping that the man would take pity on her. However, as soon as she raised her head, she saw the other party's extremely frightening gaze. Due to extreme fear, she couldn't hold it in and vomited. Seeing that everyone had vomited, young Master Li, who had been holding on for the sake of his pride, couldn't hold on anymore. He pressed his hand against his throat and forced himself to vomit. He didn't expect that he would almost die here. He just wanted to be a hero and save a damsel in distress. In an instant, the entire bar was filled with the foul smell of alcohol. It was too horrible to look at. Lu Tingxiao took off his coat expressionlessly and covered Ningxi with it to prevent her from being stained. Then he walked out the door with her in his arms without looking back. Meanwhile, on the second floor of the bar, Lu Jingli held a large bag of melon seeds in his arms, his face maintaining a look of amazement. Damn it, when a crazy wife-protecting demon goes berserk, it's really scary. However, even if you go berserk, you should at least pay attention. This is your own bar after all. How are you going to do business if you mess it up like this? Forget it, this guy only has his wife in his eyes. How can he care about his own business? Chapter 344. Outside the bar was a road lined with 2 rows of ginkgo trees. It was a cold night and a man and a woman were walking slowly along the quiet road. Are you okay? Lu Tingxiao asked with concern. Ningxi shook her head. She hadn't completely calmed down yet. Why did you suddenly appear there? I was having a meeting upstairs and I saw you before I left. Lu Tingxiao explained. Oh. Ningxi didn't know what to say. Thank you for helping me out. Lu Tingxiao looked indifferent. You're welcome. I know you could have solved it yourself even if I hadn't shown up. I just didn't want to dirty your hands. Ningxi's heart pounded as the man's low, husky voice drifted into her ears. She coughed and changed the subject. By the way, why did you tell them I was your boss? Well, you are my boss. It's a mess. What kind of person is your boss to you? Lu Tingxiao didn't answer her but suddenly asked her. What kind of person is my boss? Ningxi thought for a moment and then answered, he probably gives me money every month, and I make money for him. I'm obedient to him? Yes. Lu Tingxiao nodded. Ningxi was dumbfounded. What did he mean by yes? The next second, she suddenly realized what he meant. According to her understanding just now, the definition of a boss was the same as that of a wife. Sigh, this was the longest road she had ever walked in her life. It was the devil's trick. Well, it's late. I'll go back first. Thank you for tonight. Ningxi said goodbye. Lu Tingxiao happened to be walking to his car. He opened the door and said, let me drive you. Ningxi scratched her head. That's not necessary. I can take a taxi back myself. Lu Tingxiao said, you're too beautiful tonight. It's not safe. Ningxi, she decided to shut up from now on. Would it be safer if she didn't get flirted with? In the end, Lu Tingxiao dropped her off at the bottom of her apartment. She was finally home. Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief and bowed. Thank you, boss. I'm going up. Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao suddenly called her. Ningxi, her? Can I give you a hug? Lu Tingxiao asked softly, like a timid elf who was afraid to disturb the night. Ningxi. Ningxi was still shocked. The stars were bright, and the breeze was gentle. Under the moonlight, Lu Tingxiao's gaze was so gentle that it could drown a person. It's over. The enemy's honey trap was too fierce, and the city gate was about to fall. She clearly knew that he was using a honey trap. She clearly knew that he was planning to bewitch her step by step, but she still couldn't resist. Who could stand being flirted with by the person they liked? For her to be able to hold it in until now, shouldn't she be given an award for being the most unruffled person? What to do, what to do, what to do. Agree or disagree? Just as the ambiguous atmosphere became more and more intense, Ningxi's cell phone suddenly rang. This voice was especially abrupt in the quiet night air. Ningxi was still in a trance. She picked it up absent-mindedly and took a look. However, in the next second, when she saw it clearly, she was so scared that her soul seemed to have flown out. A line of words was quietly lying on the phone screen. "Dear, do you dare to agree to try _Weiss, holy shit." Chapter 345. Bosslu, it's late now. The moon is so beautiful tonight. Ha ha ha, go back early. I'm going back to sleep. Ha ha ha, bye 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 bye. Ningxi ran as fast as she could and disappeared in a second. She didn't even know what she had said to Lu Tingxiao just now. Lu Tingxiao stayed where he was. He first looked at the back of the girl who was desperately running away. Then, he raised his head and looked at a certain direction in the darkness. Even when she rushed into the room and slammed the door, Ningxi's heart still couldn't calm down. It was beating almost crazily. After taking several deep breaths, she took out her cell phone and looked at it again. "Dear, do you dare to try _YS, that's the sentence." She didn't read it wrong. And this was someone's favorite way to threaten people. It was a symbolic, hateful smile. What the hell was going on? Was that guy nearby just now? Ningxi's fingers trembled slightly. She paced back and forth in the room for dozens of times. Finally, she stopped thinking and dialed the number of the other party. The person on the other end of the phone seemed to be deliberately teasing her. He didn't answer it until the phone was about to automatically hang up. His voice was casual and lazy. "Hello. Where are you now?" Ningxi immediately asked. "Las Vegas." "Are you kidding me?" "Oh, if I were really nearby, do you think you could still call me now?" The man's voice was a little gloomy. "You sent someone to spy on me?" "Tut, don't think so lowly of me. I don't care how you know it. Let me ask you, what do you want?" Ningxi took a deep breath to calm down and asked, gnashing her teeth. "It's a secret." "Fuck. Dear, be good. I hope there won't be a next time. Do you understand?" "Hello, hello, hello." The sound of hanging up came from the other end of the phone. Ningxi punched the bed angrily. After that night, Ningxi had been living in fear. She was afraid that the guy would suddenly appear out of nowhere and tormented her so much that she almost had a nervous breakdown. The only fortunate thing was that they managed to make it to the end of filming without any mishaps. Finally, it was the last scene. Ningxi had been tense since last night and had been brewing her emotions. This scene was the scene before Meng Changa's death, and it was also the final scene of the film. It was even more important than the scene of Sun Huanqing's death. Even Ningxi wasn't confident that she could control it completely. For the first time in the history of the film, Ningxi was nervous. Ningxi had been immersed in the scene, so she didn't notice that as soon as she appeared on the set, everyone looked at her strangely. Until Fang Yue proudly strolled in front of her to make her presence known. "Ningxi, you're finally here. There's a letter for you. He seems to be your pursuer." Ningxi was recalling Meng Changa's life and thinking about her emotions before she died. She was in a state of high tension, so although she was here and saw Fang Yue in front of her, she was immersed in another world and didn't hear what Fang Yue said at all. Fang Yue was holding a piece of pink letter paper in her hand. There were two easily overlooked letters YS engraved in the corner of the letter paper. Fang Yue waved the letter and then said with a considerate look, "Oh, Ningxi, are you reading the script? Since you're so busy, let me read it to you." Chapter 346. Some of the people around them who had already read the contents of the letter couldn't help but burst out laughing. Fang Yue read it aloud. "Ah, my dearest Shi. I love you, like a mouse loves rice, like a kitten loves fish, like a puppy loves bones." Fang Yue's tone was too exaggerated and funny. More and more people gathered around, and finally, they all burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. This love letter is so old-fashioned. Did that person graduate from primary school? Maybe from kindergarten? There are still people writing love letters these days. I'm speechless. Who the hell is it? Needless to ask, it must be one of Ningxi's poor suitors. Be serious. I haven't finished reading it yet." Fang Yue glared at them, then continued, "At this moment, I send you my most sincere blessings and love. Tomorrow night's wrapping banquet, I will definitely give you the most noble, most tempting, most irresistible gift that matches your beauty, wisdom, and nobility. Fang Yue couldn't help it anymore. Ha 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 ha. I can't take it anymore. I'm dying of laughter. Someone help me. This man is not only uncultured, but also retarded, right? How arrogant. And the most noble, most tempting, most irresistible gift. Is he going to give us an excavator for the wrapping banquet? It really matches Ningxi's noble identity. The crowd roared with laughter. A tractor or a brick is also possible. Maybe it's a cart full of cornbread? Don't make wild guesses. A cart full of cornbread is also very expensive, okay? TSK, pretending to be rich, that's enough. This kind of person is the most disgusting. How could Ningxi have such a disgusting suitor? Hihi, isn't there a saying that what kind of person you are will attract what kind of person you are? The noise grew louder and louder, and Ningxi, who was surrounded in the middle, didn't speak. At this moment, she suddenly spat out 2 words with an extremely cold expression, quiet. That voice was like an ice blade straight across the most fatal artery in one's neck. Fang Yue instantly fell silent, and the others also curled their lips and lowered their voices. Then, Ningxi stood up with the script, pushed through the crowd expressionlessly, and walked straight towards Guochisheng. In fact, Ningxi had only heard a lot of noise just now. She had no idea what Fang Yue and the others were talking about or reading. She didn't even notice the love letter. She just wanted to avoid being disturbed and focus on her role. As soon as Ningxi left, the crowd's discussion grew louder. TSK. What are you trying to act tough for? Fang Yue threw away the letter in her hand in disgust, thinking that Ningxi had suddenly left because she was too embarrassed, so she said sarcastically, she also knows how to be embarrassed. Weren't you very proud of yourself just now? What #1 beauty in the entertainment circle with countless suitors? On the first day of the game, there were flowers and diamonds. What was the situation now? The level of these pursuers is getting lower and lower. What flowers and diamonds? It's obviously the style of an uncultured nouveau riche. How can he compare to a noble young master like Su Yang? By the way, did Ningxi deliberately find her pursuers to keep up appearances last time? It's possible. After all, there was a real tall, handsome, and rich Su Yang at that time. Ning Shui was in the limelight so much, she probably didn't want to be suppressed, right? Hearing this, Fang Yue's eyes flashed. She lowered her voice and said to everyone mysteriously, speaking of Su Yang, I have a big, shocking, secret. Chapter 347. An earth-shattering secret? What secret? Tell us. That's right. Don't keep us guessing. Everyone loved gossip, let alone big gossip. In an instant, almost everyone gathered around Fang Yue. Fang Yue waited for them to calm down before she was satisfied. She said word by word, Su Yang will propose to Shui Luo at the end of production party tomorrow. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone had a stupefied expression on their faces, because this gossip was too shocking. After a short silence, everyone began to crazily ask for details. Oh my God! Is it true? A proposal on the spot. So romantic. Fang Yue, how did you know about this? Fang Yue looked proud. I'm Shui Luo's best friend. Of course Su Yang told me in advance so that I could cooperate with him. By the way, keep it a secret. Don't let Shui Luo know, or there will be no surprise. Got it, got it. We won't tell anyone. Everyone nodded. Fang Yue continued to speak arrogantly. Tomorrow's end of production party, the hotel, the banquet, everything, the Su family will pay for it. I think they're going to have a big surprise. Wow. I'm so envious of Ning Shui Luo. My God. This is definitely the most sensational event of the year. I'm so happy just thinking about it. He's such an excellent man, and he's so attentive to me. Just then, someone in the crowd interrupted with a strange expression, that Ningxi has been competing with Ning Shui Luo. Will she die of anger this time? Fang Yue immediately sneered with a face full of mockery. Hey, can't you see? Ningxi must have heard the news and knew that Su Yang was going to propose. Didn't you see how bad her face was today? Everyone recalled for a while, and then they all showed a look of realization. No wonder. Her face is very bad today. She must be in a bad mood. Just then, someone suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, I suddenly thought of something. Will Ningxi's strange suitor really make a surprise for tomorrow's end of production party? Won't Ningxi be more embarrassed if she bumps into Su Yang? Ha 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 ha. That love letter is so funny. How can there be such a strange person? I really don't know what he will give her. Fang Yue curled her lips contemptuously and said, she asked for it. Who told her to be so desperate and hook up with just about anyone? It's no wonder that she has always been so jealous of Xue Luo. After everyone was done gossiping, Fang Yue's eyes flashed with a hint of success. Then, she secretly sent a message to Chang Li, Sister Chang, everything is done. The rumor has been released. This time, God is also helping us. Ningxi has a very strange suitor. When the time comes, we have to prepare a surprise for her. At the same time, in Ledoyen, a 3-star Michelin restaurant in F country. In the kitchen, Executive Chef Apasa suddenly received a call from Las Vegas. After answering the call, A immediately stopped what he was doing, took off his apron, and handed it to the sous chef next to him. With a serious expression, he said, I'm going to leave for Country C right now to be an assistant chef for a banquet. I'll leave the rest to you. Don't you have to book your schedule at least half a year in advance, no matter how distinguished the other party is? How come this time? Don't you always have to book your itinerary at least half a year in advance, no matter how distinguished the other party is? How come this time? Chapter 348. Also, did I hear it wrong? You just said you're going to be an assistant chef. Which chef is qualified to have you be his assistant chef? It's my honor to be his assistant, A said respectfully. The sous chefs all had an incredulous look on their faces when they heard that. They could basically guess which master it was that could make a willingly serve as his assistant chef. However, whose banquet was it that could make that master come out in person? Because they were so curious, one of the sous chefs couldn't help asking, May I know whose banquet you are attending this time? A pondered. I didn't ask much. I only know that it's a lady named Ningxi. Ningxi? Who is that? Everyone looked at each other. One of them suddenly remembered something and asked, By the way, your disciple, Mr. William, seems to be from C as well. I wonder if he knows this noble lady. Will he be attending her banquet? William. A frowned and shook his head. Even I can only be an assistant chef. How can he be qualified? Oh. Everyone looked at him with reverence. Ningxi had no idea what was happening. She was engrossed in discussing the next scene with Guo Chisheng and the scriptwriter Yi Linglong. After a long preparation, Ningxi was finally confident. She took a deep breath and said to Guo Chisheng, Director, I'm ready. Good. Guo Chisheng patted her on the shoulder. Let's start now. Okay. Guo Chisheng immediately informed all the departments to get ready. Then he shouted through the loudspeaker, 3, 2, 1, action. As soon as the shooting began, everyone quieted down. Finally, it was the last scene, the ending of the world. The treacherous courtier was dead, concubine Xian was dead, and the incapable emperor was dead. Meng Chang'e was finally avenged. Next, she would take revenge on all the people in the world who had betrayed the heroic souls of the Meng family. However, at the last moment, the blood of a general flowed in her blood for generations, and she couldn't do it. In the end, she chose to jump off the cliff and help the hero. During this scene, Ningxi had been wondering how Meng Chang'e should feel when he jumped off the cliff. At that time, should Meng Chang'e be indignant, unwilling, or desperate? In order to study this, Ningxi almost went crazy. But now, she had finally portrayed this scene perfectly. Meng Chang'e, who was played by Ningxi, was wearing a fiery red wedding dress and holding Sun Huanqing's memorial tablet in her arms. There was no grief or unwillingness on her face, nor was there any despair or reluctance. On her face, there was the shyness of a young girl, as if she had been moved by Sun Huanqing for the first time. She closed her eyes and jumped down with a satisfied smile. In the end, Ningxi chose to go back to nature. At the very last moment, Meng Chang'e returned to being a carefree girl. Ningxi shot the scene of them jumping off the cliff very beautifully. She didn't deliberately make them cry, but almost everyone on the scene cried. They were full of loss and their hearts were empty, as if they were missing something important. The original ending was that Meng Chang'e died at the hands of the female lead and the male lead. After this was dealt with, it seemed like the difference between suicide and murder, but in fact, the whole situation had changed. At this point, the last scene ended. Under the Heavens had wrapped up filming. Chapter 349. Chapter content beginning finish. We're finally done. Everyone at the scene cheered, and some of them were so excited that they couldn't stop crying. Ningxi was also very emotional. Her first film had finally come to an end. When she returned to the lounge, Ningxi didn't even have the strength to change her clothes. She collapsed on the dressing table like a puddle of mud. At this moment, Xiao Dao hurriedly pushed open the door and ran in. "Sister Shi, you're finally done." Ningxi waved her hand weakly. "What's the matter, dear? If you have something to say, can you tell me later? My brain is overdrawn now, and I can't think." Xiao Dao was very anxious. "No, Sister Shi. You must think. Do you know what the crew is saying about you now?" "Huh? What happened?" She was only filming a scene. "What happened?" Xiao Dao was so anxious that she stomped her feet. "Fang Ya has already read that love letter in front of you. Why are you still in a daze?" "Ah." Fang Ya seemed to be mumbling something in front of me just now. "What do you think it was?" "A love letter?" Ningxi was shocked. She was completely immersed in the plot just now. She only knew that the group of people had been arguing in front of her for a long time, but she didn't know what had happened. Xiao Dao was defeated by her. She stuffed a crumpled pink letter into her hands. "Look at it yourself." Ningxi forced herself to stay awake. She scratched her head and took the letter. She muttered to herself, my dearest Shi. I love you, like a mouse loves rice, like a kitten loves fish, like a puppy loves bones. Phut. Cough, cough, cough." Ningxi really couldn't read it anymore. She almost choked to death on her own saliva. What the fuck? Who would have thought that in his lifetime, he would actually be able to see that fellow's demonic love letter? Chinese isn't good, so stop showing off, okay? It was simply a ghastly sight that was too horrible to look at, blinding to the eyes, sinful, also. What the hell was the most noble, the most tempting, the most irresistible gift that matches your beauty, wisdom, and nobility? Forget about the most noble, most tempting, and most irresistible gift. What the hell does that bastard want to do? The more Xiao Dao thought about it, the more anxious she became. "Sister Shi, you don't know that everyone is waiting to see you make a fool of yourself." It was said that Su Yang had prepared a big surprise for Ning Xueluo at the wrap-up party tomorrow night. It was very likely to be a proposal. This unknown pursuer also said that he wanted to give you a big surprise. Compared to this, aren't you embarrassed to death? Sis Shi, please don't let him appear at the party. There will definitely be reporters at the scene, or else it'll be really embarrassing. Hee. Ningxi smiled bitterly and sighed. You think that's what I want? But what use was it if she didn't want to? Ningxi held the letter, her face full of despair. It seemed that she couldn't avoid this tribulation after all. She could only comfort herself that it was better for that fellow to torment her than to torment Lu Tingxiao. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the banquet. Ningxi had used up too much energy in the last scene yesterday. She still couldn't recover, so she looked listless. Usually, she could get into character quickly and get out of character quickly. However, if it was the situation yesterday, she would be completely immersed in character without any reservations, and it would inevitably take some time to get out of character. Simply put, at this moment, half of Ningxi's soul was still Meng Chang'e. Chapter 350. Xiao Dao thought that Lin Jiji had suffered a setback and was unable to recover from it. She paced around anxiously, but there was nothing she could do. She could only follow Lin Jiji's instructions and act according to the situation. Ning Xueluo was destined to be the main focus today, so Lin Jiji's only requirement for Ning Shi today was steady. Thus, Ning Shi put on decent makeup and a champagne-colored Chanel autumn-winter haute couture evening gown and went to the party. The venue of the end-of-production party was the only 6-star hotel in the capital. Ning Shi arrived a little early and saw busy staff decorating the scene everywhere. There were all kinds of red roses and balloons of love. Unless you were blind, you wouldn't know that they were preparing to propose. In addition, the hotel was full of all kinds of gifts, flower baskets, and so on. Some were sent by partners, and some were sent by fans. It was so full that there was almost no place to stand. Ning Shi glanced at it and saw a flower basket marked Ning Shi's Global Fan Club in the corner. Her eyes suddenly became warm. She also had a fan club, although the gifts received by Ning Xueluo and Zhao Xizhou were not worth mentioning, she was still very happy. However, Xiao Dao on the side inevitably felt a little bad. Why did she receive so few gifts? It was too shabby. Later, when the reporters saw it, they didn't know what to say. Alas, when she was with Lung Manyun, there were always mountains of gifts for the end-of-production party. Now she might also lose face with them. Even people like Ning Xueluo could step on them. Seeing that her sisters were getting better and better, only she fell from the peak of being envied by others to the bottom of the valley, it was really sad to think about it. At this time, Fang Ya and others also came behind her, exclaiming one after another. Wow! The scene is so beautiful. It's so dreamy. How much money will it cost? It's sky high just to book the whole hotel. The hotel is going to make a lot of money. You don't understand this. The popular first-line goddess and the most expensive young master in the capital made a romantic commitment. Such sensational news, the hotel can also use this to promote itself. They can't wait for it. After the exclamation, they all covered their mouths and snickered when they saw Ning Shi standing in front of the small flower basket given by the fan. What is this from Ning Shi's fan? Just a broken flower basket. Why is she standing there? Don't tell me he's preparing a surprise for that guy in silk pants. You want to count on that weird diaper guy? Don't tell me he went crazy because of Xueluo. Fang Ya looked at Ning Shi's direction proudly and finally felt proud. She repeated what she had said that night. Alas, there is no harm without comparison. Xiao Dao couldn't take it anymore as she listened to the harsh mockery. She was so angry that she almost cried. These people are too much. How can you do this? Ning Shi sighed, touched Xiao Dao's head and said softly, Xiao Dao, be a good girl. We are only together for a while now. I won't let you suffer with me all the time. One day, we will conquer this empire for you. Xiao Dao was so amused that she burst into laughter. She blushed and said, Sister Shi, you're so annoying. Are you kidding me again? Seeing the little girl laugh, Ning Shi finally breathed a sigh of relief. Actually, at this moment, she did not feel good in her heart. She did not care because such a small matter was really nothing to her. However, what she could not bear the most was to let the people around her suffer grievances with her and be implicated by her. Chapter 351. As night fell, the lanterns were lit. All the main cast, partners, and media started to enter the venue. In the huge banquet hall, all the crew members had a proud expression on their faces. Oh my God! This is so cool. Have you ever seen such a grand and flashy end-of-production banquet? I need to take a few photos and post them on my WeChat. Ha ha ha, I'll do a live broadcast. I think I can earn a lot of tips. It's all thanks to Xueluo this time. Where's Xueluo? Is she here? What's the hurry? The main character has to be the finale. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Xueluo, who was dressed in a white fishtail dress, walked in gracefully while surrounded by the media. Fang Ya and the others immediately went up to her. Fang Ya held Ning Xueluo's arm intimately. Xueluo, you're here. You're so beautiful today. Ning Xueluo glared at her, her face glowing. No way, it's just like any other day. The others around her also complimented her. Xueluo, your dress looks so good. It's gorgeous. And it suits your figure. Damn, what do you know? It's not the dress, it's the nourishment of love. Someone teased. Ning Xueluo covered her face. You're so annoying, you're laughing at me again. Fang Ya deliberately used a spoon as a microphone. Miss Ning Xueluo, I'd like to interview you now. How does it feel to have such a perfect boyfriend? Ning Xueluo looked sweet. Stop fooling around. By the way, eat more tonight. Su Yang specially invited a 3-star Michelin chef from Fragrant City. The crowd exclaimed, wow, Michelin. And 3-star. Oh my god. Your Su Yang is inhumanely rich. How much did this meal cost? A 3-star Michelin chef from Fragrant City? Oh my god, could it be Fei William? Ning Xueluo listened to everyone's exclamations and looked in Ning Shi's direction casually. Then she answered casually, it's him. I saw it on a magazine the other day and just mentioned it casually. I didn't expect Su Yang to really invite him. As soon as she said that, the group of girls around her couldn't take it anymore. Raw. Please forgive us, a group of single dogs. Stop showing off your love. Come on, even those with a girlfriend can't stand them showing off their love, okay? Ning Xueluo glared at them. You're so annoying. I'm not talking to you anymore. You guys have fun, I'll go over there. Yes, yes, yes. If you don't want to talk to us, go find your Su Yang. Xiao Dao, who was sitting in the corner with Ning Shi, was so angry that she almost bent her spoon. Damn it, damn it, damn it. It was the god of cookery, Fei William. My biggest wish is to be able to eat a meal personally cooked by him. I didn't expect to eat it under such circumstances. I've lost my appetite. Fei William. Hearing that name, Ning Shi was in a trance. Yeah. Xiao Dao wiped her saliva and said excitedly, even if you don't know Fei William, you should know Apasa, right? The executive chef of Country FS top Michelin star restaurant. Fei William is his direct disciple. He's extremely famous, and it's extremely difficult to invite him. Just a single meal from him would cost an ordinary person their entire fortune. Hearing that, Ning Shi didn't speak. Of course she knew Fei William. Many years ago, there was a period of time when she liked to watch the Chef King competition. Her favorite was this chef named Fei William. Every day after school, he would come back and wait in front of the TV, drooling. At that time, Su Yang teased her and said, on the day of their wedding, he would invite Fei William to cook for them. It was really unbearable to look back on the past. Chapter 352. Before the banquet began, the producer, director, male lead, and female lead went up to the stage to give a speech. After everyone had finished speaking, the MC returned to the stage. Today, there is another gentleman who would like to borrow our stage to say a few words. Everyone, please welcome him. Oh, realizing that Su Yang was going to propose, the crowd cheered and screamed. All the media set up their equipment and everyone took out their phones to record. The atmosphere was extremely lively. Not far from Ning Shi's left, Ning Xueluo looked at the man who was slowly walking up the stage. Then, she smiled at Ning Shi mockingly. Su Yang was wearing a white suit today, which matched Ning Xueluo's white fishtail dress. They looked like a couple's outfit, and they were a perfect match. Su Yang picked up the microphone shyly. Sorry. I'm a little nervous. Let me calm down. The crowd chuckled and waited patiently. After 3 seconds of silence, Su Yang looked in Ning Xueluo's direction affectionately and spoke with a voice as gentle as the spring breeze. Xueluo, 5 years ago, I met you for the first time in your garden. You were wearing a white dress and you were as beautiful as an angel. At that moment, I fell in love with you at first sight. When we met again, you were wearing a sky blue school uniform and you called me Brother Yang. At that moment, I promised to spend the rest of my life with you. In the past 5 years, from meeting to knowing each other, we've experienced laughter, tears, happiness, and setbacks. Fortunately, we're still together all the way. Girls couldn't stand this kind of scene. Many of them had tears in their eyes. Although Xiao Dao was unhappy with Ning Xueluo, she was touched by Su Yang's confession. At that moment, she suddenly realized that Ning Shi's expression wasn't right. Sister Shi. What's wrong? Are you okay? You don't look well. Are you feeling unwell? Ning, she pinched her eyebrows. I'm fine. Hair, love at first sight, and promised to spend the rest of his life. When Su Yang first met Ning Xueluo, they hadn't even broken up yet. Yet, he fell in love with another woman at first sight and promised to spend the rest of his life with her, tears and setbacks. It seemed like she was their tears and frustration, a stumbling block on their path to true love. At this moment, Su Yang was holding a diamond ring and kneeling on one knee. Xueluo, marry me. Let me take care of you for the rest of your life. Okay? Promise him, say yes, Xueluo. Say yes. Everyone at the scene was cheering for Su Yang. Ning Xueluo covered her mouth and sobbed. Everyone made way for her. Ning Xueluo walked step by step towards Su Yang on the stage. She nodded slowly under Su Yang's nervous gaze. I agree. Oh. Kiss me. Kiss me. Kiss. Kiss. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, Ning Xueluo looked down at Ning Shi, who was drowned in the crowd below the stage. Her face was filled with the glow of victory. Ning Shi, did you see that? The man you love the most already belongs to me completely. At this moment, there was no expression on Ning Shi's face, nor was there a trace of sadness. Ning Xueluo's usual method was to use the things she cared about to suppress her and provoke her. However, those things that Ning Xueluo relied on were already worthless in her heart. On the stage, a handsome man and a beautiful woman kissed passionately. Below the stage, there were flashes one after another. Because many people were live-streaming, the internet had already exploded. It was no surprise that this proposal of the century would be on the headlines for a long time to come. The grand proposal had finally come to an end, and tonight's banquet had just begun. It's already 4 chapters today. There will be 2 more chapters at 4 p.m. UA. Chapter 353. After the proposal, the most eye-catching thing was tonight's dishes. Many people at the scene were food lovers, even food column reporters and popular bloggers. They all came here after hearing that the chef tonight was Faye William. At this moment, they were all waiting excitedly for the appearance of the god of cookery. Just this banquet alone was enough to write a headline. At this time, in the crowd, Fang Yue suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, I suddenly remembered something." Fang Yue's voice was loud enough for everyone to hear, so for a moment, everyone subconsciously looked at Fang Yue. Seeing that everyone was attracted by her, Fang Yue deliberately put on a curious expression and looked at Ning Shi in the corner. Ning Shi, didn't the romantic suitor who wrote you a love letter yesterday say that he would prepare a surprise for you today? Why haven't I seen him yet? Now that Fang Yue mentioned it, the others also thought of it and echoed excitedly and gossiped. That's right, the love letter also said to prepare the most honorable, most tempting, and most irresistible gift. We are all so curious and looking forward to it. What surprise? Is someone preparing a surprise again? Some unknown media immediately asked. Oh, it's our second female lead, Ning Shi. Yesterday, when we finished filming, she suddenly received a affectionate love letter. Fang Yue said as she took out a piece of pink paper from her pocket. Seeing that letter, Xiao Dao suddenly turned pale. How could it be? I clearly threw that love letter away. How could it be in her hands? Ning Shi also frowned. Sister Shi, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have thrown it away, I should have destroyed it. What should I do? What should I do? Xiao Dao began to tremble with anxiety. Ning Shi patted the back of her hand to comfort her. It's okay, it's just a love letter. Fang Yue violated someone else's privacy in public, so her image won't be good. We can fight back later. Xiao Dao's eyes turned red. But I've already lost face. So many people today. It's all my fault. On the other side, not only did Fang Yue read the love letter aloud in front of everyone, but she also passed the love letter around. Almost all the guests and media at the scene saw it, and some reporters laughed as if they had caught a big joke and kept filming. Su Yang frowned. Is Xiao's suitor mentally ill? Nothing bad happened, right? A malicious smile flashed across Ning Xueluo's eyes, but she said calmly, judging from the tone of the letter, it sounds a little crazy. It's probably a poor girl who's living a downtrodden life. There are actually quite a lot of people like this. Ningxi is really unlucky to be pestered by such a person. After Fang Ya finished reading the love letter, she went up to Ningxi, blinked, and asked, "What's wrong, Ningxi? Why aren't you saying anything? Is your surprise coming or not? All of us are waiting." Yes. Hurry up and urge him to bring up the surprise. We are all looking forward to it. Phut, speaking of which, will that Jia Sai really send a truck full of cornbread? I've never eaten cornbread before. I'm going to widen my horizons today. Some people were taking photos, some were recording the live broadcast, and all of them were waiting to watch the fun. In the corner, Xiao Dao had already secretly cried because she couldn't stand the humiliation and self-blame. Ningxi couldn't stand girls crying, so she anxiously comforted her. At this time, a busybody reporter noticed Xiao Dao's gaffe and impolitely put the camera close to Xiao Dao's face. Just as Ningxi was about to scold the reporter, with a bang, the door of the banquet hall was suddenly pushed open from the outside. Everyone subconsciously looked up at the same time, only to see the hotel owner dressed in formal attire, personally standing at the door, and behind him was a tall mixed-blood man. Chapter 354. Clang. In the crowd, someone's knife and fork fell to the ground, making an ear-piercing sound. The gourmet reporter who had been praising Fei William lost his composure and suddenly stood up. He stared blankly at the foreign man behind the hotel owner and said with a face full of surprise, "Fei William." In the past, they had only seen Fei William on the cover of a magazine, but tonight they saw him in person. Compared to those magazine covers, Fei William was more tasteful, especially some actresses. After seeing Fei William, they straightened their bodies and pretended to be noble, as if they wanted to attract Fei William's attention. His mixed-race appearance and reputation, in addition to the fragrance of delicacies, he was also full of masculinity. The one at the door seems to be the hotel owner, but who is the mixed race behind him? Some guests who had never seen Fei William asked casually. "It's Fei William himself." The gourmet reporter finally called out the man's name excitedly. "Ah, he is Fei William. How can he be so handsome? I thought he was a big star." Hearing that it was Fei William himself, many guests were slightly stunned, then they rushed to Fei William, asking to take a photo with him. Fei William had a faint smile on his face. He did not refuse this kind of request and satisfied them one by one. Xiao Dao clenched her fists tightly and looked at Ningxi from time to time, her face full of grievance. "It's just a publicity stunt. They actually let Fei William take a photo with those guests. Tomorrow, the reporters will write about it again. What romantic proposal, what rich and overbearing to invite Fei William to take a photo with him." Ningxi shook her head and signaled Xiao Dao with her eyes not to talk nonsense. In such a public place, it was best to say as little as possible. Otherwise, if it was heard, it would be inevitable to be criticized. Fortunately, at this moment, everyone's eyes were on Fei William. No one heard what Xiao Dao said. "Ning Xueluo's acting skills are not as good as yours, and her appearance and character are also incomparable to yours, but why is she always in the limelight?" Not only did Xiao Dao feel wronged, but she also felt injustice for Ningxi. In Xiao Dao's heart, with Ningxi's appearance and acting skills, which one of them was not better than Ning Xueluo, the most important thing was her character. Ning Xueluo did have a strong sense of presence in the crew, and she seemed to be easy to get along with, but Xiao Dao, who was with Ningxi, knew the truth best. It was said that Ningxi was jealous of Ning Xueluo and always stole the limelight from Ning Xueluo. In fact, Ningxi never paid attention to her. It was Ning Xueluo who provoked her every time. "I'm honored to be able to serve Miss Ning Xueluo a delicacy tonight, and I'm happy for Mr. Su Yang to be able to win the heart of the beauty." Fei William stepped forward and said passionately to Ning Xueluo and Su Yang, "I'm honored to be able to invite Mr. Fei." Ning Xueluo nodded with a smile. "Thank you, my friend." Su Yang hugged Fei William affectionately. At this moment, the crowd was in an uproar. For a culinary god like Fei William, his influence was no less than that of an A-list celebrity. It was almost impossible to invite him to a rap party like this, but because Su Yang and Fei William had a good relationship and they were friends, Fei William agreed to appear. "My God, Shui Luo is really going to die of happiness. If someone is willing to do this for me, in your dreams, do you think anyone can invite Fei William? There's only one Su Yang, and there's only one Fei William. A group of actresses around Ning Shuiluo chattered non-stop. That's true. It's really difficult to invite a top culinary god like Fei William, not to mention that he's a passer's disciple. With such an identity, how many people can invite him? All right, distinguished guests, I'll prepare dinner for you. Please wait for a moment. Fei William left the banquet hall and went to prepare the dishes. Seeing Fei William leave, the food reporters immediately followed him out. They did not want to miss a single shot of Fei William. The combination of delicious food and a handsome man was enough to attract attention at any time. Not long after Fei William and the food reporters left, the door of the banquet hall opened again. Everyone thought that it was Fei William who had finally finished cooking, but to their surprise, it wasn't Fei William, but a slightly older foreign chef. I'm done updating for today. Then, I want to inform everyone of news that might not be good for you. This book is going to be published. So far, this book has been free for nearly 3 months. During this time, I'm very grateful for everyone's support and company. Many of you know that my writing speed is very slow. After the book is published, the website requests for more updates. This means that I have to put in more effort and time than usual. If you like this book and think it's worth continuing to read, I hope you can continue to support the author. The author relies on this line to make a living. It's the same as working and getting a salary. I hope everyone can understand. Of course, if you can't continue reading, I'm also grateful for your love and support during this time. Everyone can go and learn about the top-up methods. There are many ways. Finally, to those who can stay, the book will be published on the 6th. That means that chapters that are updated in the wee hours of tonight will need to be paid. There will be one more update on the day it's published. Enjoy reading. I don't know why author has something to say swallowed it and refused to show it. Therefore, I can only put it at the end of the chapter. I'll delete it before I pay for it so that it won't take up the paid word count. Sob. Author has something to say. This bullshit was supposed to be in the author's got something to say chapter, and it wasn't supposed to be a paid word count. I don't know why author has something to say swallowed it and refused to show it. Therefore, I can only put it at the end of the chapter. I'll delete it before its paid word count. Chapter 355. Why is there another chef? Fang Ya was confused when she saw the man in a chef's uniform. She asked, "Who knows this chef?" Hearing that, everyone in the hall shook their heads and looked confused. They were not food journalists, so they didn't know who he was. Only Ning Shi, who was sitting in the corner, changed her expression. Why did this foreign chef look like a passer? He was the master of Fei William, the god of food, but Ning Shi wasn't sure, so she didn't say anything. Maybe they just looked similar. Distinguished guests, I'm here to prepare a banquet for Miss Ning, the foreign chef said. Prepare a banquet? Strange, is it for Shui Luo? But isn't the head chef Fei William? Where did this chef come from? Ning Shuiluo looked at Su Yang, who was also confused. She suddenly thought of something and reminded Fang Ya, they're probably here for Ningxi. Fang Ya was suddenly enlightened. She burst out laughing and shouted at the top of her lungs, "Ah! So this is the chef who prepared the banquet for our great beauty Ning. Is this the surprise that Jiao Sai's suitor prepared for our beauty Ning? Haha, it's really a surprise." Hearing Fang Ya's words, the actors immediately understood. They looked at Ning Shi and sneered. Sure enough, there would be no harm without comparison. This comparison, this damage, it was simply tons upon tons. Su Yang invited Fei William, the Michelin master who was known as the god of food. What did Ning Shi's suitor prepare? Which small restaurant hired this chef? He even specially found a foreigner. He must have put in a lot of effort. Ha ha ha, Jiao Sai's suitor is really creative. He has the same idea as Su Yang. But, if you don't have the ability, don't make a fool of yourself. Hey, look, that chef actually brought his own equipment. Could it be that he wants to cut his own ingredients? He really is a great chef. As soon as he said that, everyone burst into laughter. There were even a few actresses who laughed so hard that they cried. Although they knew that she might make a fool of herself today, it was really a surprise. The foreign chef remained calm amidst the ridicule. He took out the equipment he brought with him. Anyone with a little knowledge of the industry could tell that it was an extremely expensive knife. However, although these knives were priceless, it was hard to see anything special about them from their appearance. Seeing that the foreign chef really brought his own knife, Fang Yue and the others laughed even louder. In the restaurant, the ridicule was endless. In the corner, Xiao Dao's face was completely red. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. Now, it was unknown how many pairs of eyes were looking at Ningxi. No matter how much Ningxi didn't care, she really couldn't bear it. In her heart, she had already cursed Ningxi's filthy pursuer hundreds of times. It was already shameful enough, but now it became a huge joke. Just as Ning Xueluo was about to say something, the food reporters who had gone out with Fei William returned to the banquet hall with the prepared delicacies. The waiters carefully served the appetizer, scallops and white truffles, to everyone. Chapter 356. The food reporters were busy recording this scene. At this time, one of the food reporters inadvertently glanced at the foreign chef with a calm expression. In an instant, his mind went blank, as if a sudden clap of thunder had exploded in his head. He immediately forgot to take a picture, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Oh, God. A passer. I can't believe it, it's actually a passer. Why is Mr. A here? A passer. Who is that reporter talking about? I don't know, who is he? Why is that reporter so excited? The guests who didn't know the truth looked at each other. At this time, all the food reporters saw the foreign chef, and everyone was excited. After they came back to their senses, they began to excitedly explain to the people around them. A passer. The current executive chef of Ledoyan Michelin 3 Stars restaurant in F country, the recognized god of cookery in F country. Fang Yue's face was full of shock. That foreign chef is very good. How can he compare to our Fei William? One of the food bloggers looked at Fang Yue as if she was retarded. That Fei William said he's the god of cookery, but he can only call himself that in a place like Fragrant City. This Mr. A is Fei William's master, and he's the real god of cookery, do you understand? What? Fei William's master? Fang Yue's expression finally changed. The god of cookery in F country? That's amazing. Then why is he here all of a sudden? This kind of person can't be invited even if you have the money. It would take at least half a year to arrange, right? That's right. I remember, there was a heavenly queen who wanted to invite him to her birthday party last time. She said she could invite him no matter the price, but she didn't invite him. Her reason seemed to be that his level was too low. Is that for real? Which slut could invite such an awesome person? Behind the food reporters, Fei William, who was walking with big strides, inadvertently looked up and saw the foreign chef in the banquet hall. He suddenly showed an extremely shocked expression. After coming back to his senses, he quickly went up to greet him in fear and said, "Master." When Fei William said master, all the guests were dumbfounded. No one doubted that this foreigner was really Fei William's master. Mim nodded solemnly. You. Why are you here? Fei William was surprised. At this moment, a guest explained, Mr. A is also in charge of this banquet. He said it was prepared for Miss Ning. As soon as he finished speaking, the food reporters immediately let out cries of surprise. Fang Yue rolled her eyes, and a look of realization appeared on her face. She exclaimed, "Oh my God. Just now when Mr. Apasa said that it was prepared for Miss Ning, I thought that it was prepared for our great beauty Ning. So it was prepared for Xueluo. That's right, it's my fault for being stupid. Xueluo's surname is also Ning." The others chimed in. That's right. Everyone made a mistake. How rude of us. We can't be blamed for this. Su Yang had already invited Fei William. Who would have thought that he would invite Fei William's master? Xueluo, control your man. You can't abuse a dog like this. Looking at everyone's envious gazes, Ning Xueluo was also filled with surprise. She intimately held Su Yang's arm and shyly gave him a kiss. "Brother Yang, thank you. I'm really surprised, happy, and blessed today." Chapter 357. Su Yang's face stiffened. "Xueluo, this person is actually..." Ning Xueluo chuckled. "Yang Gij, don't be shy. I know how good you are to me." The others also teased him. "Hey, don't be shy. It's not like it's a shameful thing to dote on your wife. Just now, we thought that the suitor was hired by Ningxi. Wishful thinking. Does he have that kind of fate? How can he be compared to our beauty, Xueluo?" "That's right. But Su Yang's surprise is too big. He gave us all a shock. Isn't that so? Look at how excited those food reporters are. He even caused us to have a huge misunderstanding." Su Yang wanted to explain, but everyone kept praising him. Ning Xueluo's face was full of admiration, so he didn't have the chance to tell the truth. He really didn't invite that person. So, who could it be? Could it be that the hotel owner invited him to do him a favor? That's possible. He was relieved after thinking about it. He put on a humble expression and didn't refute everyone's compliments. In the corner, Xiao Dao's face was full of grief. "So what if you're rich? How infuriating. He even invited the chef. I don't want to eat it no matter how delicious it is." Ningxi sighed and patted Xiao Dao's back to comfort her. At the same time, a trace of suspicion flashed in her eyes. She had also heard of the god of cookery A in country F. However, logically speaking, he wouldn't lower himself to attend such a small banquet even if he had booked it in advance according to his rules, caught his schedule, and paid enough money. How did Su Yang manage to invite him? Since the chef had come out personally, Fei William naturally gave up the main position and retreated to the second line. He consciously stood on the sous chef's position. There was an open cooking table in the banquet hall. It seemed like they were going to cook on the spot. It was a feast for both the eyes and the taste. Everyone in the banquet hall stared at A expectantly. They couldn't help but salivate, looking forward to a one-of-a-kind feast. However, for some reason, A did not walk to the chef's seat that Fei William had given up. Instead, he walked to the assistant chef's seat that Fei William had given up. "Master, what are you doing?" William looked confused. A looked at his disciple with a serious expression. "You can leave after this banquet. I will be your assistant." "What?" Fei William was shocked. You're going to be the assistant? Aren't you the head chef tonight?" "I'm not," A denied. Then who is the head chef tonight?" Fei William was completely dumbfounded. A replied respectfully, "You'll know when he comes." After saying that, he paused and looked at his disciple. This is also a rare learning opportunity. Watch from the side later. Hearing this, Fei William's expression turned a little ugly. What kind of person was it that he didn't even have the qualifications to be an assistant and could only watch from the side? He had become famous at a young age and was proud and arrogant. How could he endure such humiliation? However, he did not dare to disobey his master's orders, so he could only reluctantly retreat to a corner. "Yes, I understand." The guests first saw Fei William retreat to the sous chef's seat, and then they saw a walk to the sous chef's seat. In the end, Fei William didn't even have a seat, and was squeezed to the corner. Chapter 358. Everyone was dumbfounded. What's going on? I don't know. Looks like someone else is coming. I think it's said that A is only the sous chef. The real head chef hasn't arrived yet. A food reporter looked like he was going crazy. Oh my god. I'm going crazy. Even A can only be a sous chef. Who the hell is the head chef? Another food blogger made a God bless gesture. I'm already satisfied to be able to see this god in my life. Could it be that I'm lucky enough to see the legendary, who is it? Someone asked in confusion. Who else can make a sous chef? The food blogger revealed a secretive expression. The other food reporters and food lovers thought of that person at the same time. They were all in disbelief. That's impossible. I think it's impossible too. There's no way we can invite that person. Otherwise, I'll swallow this wine glass. Then I'll swallow a spoon. Time passed by and about 5 minutes had passed. The banquet hall's doors finally opened again as the guests waited anxiously. The leader of the group was a foreign old man dressed in a neat chef's uniform. Behind him was a well-trained team. The old man walked in at a steady pace. When the hotel owner saw him, he hurried over and greeted him politely. He reached out his hand excitedly. "Mr. Daniel, you're finally here. Everything is ready on our side. We're just waiting for you." The old man nodded slightly and shook hands with the owner politely. He then walked straight to the head chef. Who was at the sous chef's seat, bent down and gave the old man a 90-degree bow. He then personally helped him put on his apron and prepared some lemonade for him to wash his hands. When Faye William, who was idling in the corner, saw the old man, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He could not close his mouth for a long time. Master Daniel. How is that possible? Am I dreaming? After saying that, he pinched himself exaggeratedly and grimaced in pain. Master Daniel had always been his idol since he entered the industry, a holy scripture in his heart. Not to mention observing from such a close distance, even if he could see it from afar, he would have no regrets in this life. His unwillingness and reluctance had all turned into joy at this moment. In the banquet hall, those who claimed that they would swallow their cups and spoons just now were all dumbfounded. "Motherfucker, someone pinch me, pinch harder. I'm definitely dreaming. It's better if you pinch yourself. I've already pinched myself a few times. Her thighs are already purple from my pinching. It's not a dream. Who is this old man?" Fang Yue asked curiously. The other crew members who didn't know much about him also came up to him. "Yeah, who is this? More powerful than William's master?" One of the senior food reporters stared intently at the old man's every move and explained in a respectful tone, "If William Fay is the leader of the younger generation of food practitioners, then his master Apasa is the mainstay of the food industry, representing the highest level of the food industry today. What about Daniel?" Someone immediately asked. Chapter 359. Daniel Joseph. Another food blogger sighed. He's a textbook existence for every gourmet industry. He's the Bible in the eyes of gourmet lovers. He's an eternal classic, a treasure of country F. The food journalist sighed. He was so excited that he was about to cry. "Everyone, eat and cherish it. This is the only time in your life." Fang Yue blinked. After saying so much, he's just awesome, right? The others also sighed. "I don't understand, but I think he's awesome. Anyway, I must eat more tonight. Luckily, I haven't eaten all day and purposely left my stomach empty." Fang Yue smiled and moved closer to Ning Xueluo to tease her. "Xueluo, your Su Yang really put in a lot of effort to propose. I think it's not enough for you to repay him with your body. Hurry up and get married and give him a baby." "Ha ha ha ha. That's right. That makes sense. And he has to give birth to a few more." Ning Xueluo stomped her feet in embarrassment. "Hey, you guys, stop talking nonsense. All right, stop teasing her." Su Yang looked at the little woman next to him with adoration. At this moment, he was completely convinced that the restaurant had invited the two masters to please the Su family, so he was at ease with everyone's flattery. "Ayo, that's heartache. It's too much. I can't stand it anymore." Fang Yue knocked on the plate and looked in Ning Xi's direction with a faint smile. Someone is pretending to be calm, but she must be so jealous that her liver is about to explode, right? Doesn't she always like to compete with our Xueluo? Let her continue. Phut. I can't help it. Su Yang is really too ruthless this time. He's the god of cookery for 3 generations. Each of them is a legend of an era. He invited them all at once. As expected of the Su family. They have such a strong background. Ning Xi is good at pretending, but her little assistant is too inexperienced. Can't you see that she's about to cry? Hearing those people talking about her, Xiao Dao forced herself to hold back her tears. She didn't want to embarrass herself further. Sister Shi, I'm sorry. Ning Shi hugged her. Alright, you've said sorry so many times. Besides, even if someone has to apologize, it should be me. I'm the one who implicated you. I'm not strong enough now, not strong enough to let you not be wronged. Xiao Dao pursed her lips and couldn't help but sob as she threw herself into Ning Shi's arms and cried. Although the sudden change of moving from Lung Manyun's side to Ning Shi's side made her feel indignant, she still liked Ning Shi very much. Although Lung Manyun was a big shot, she was too aloof and wasn't easy to get along with. Unlike Ning Shi, she didn't put on any airs when interacting with her and was especially good at making people happy. It was clear that she should be the one comforting her, but she was the one comforting her instead. Fortunately, Mr. Daniel was about to start cooking, and everyone's attention was on him, so no one noticed Ning Shi and the others. Actually, the current situation tonight was already the best situation for Ning Shi. Although she would receive some supercilious looks, but at least there weren't any big problems that she couldn't solve. But she was still a little uneasy in her heart. With that fellow's bad taste, since he said in the letter that he was going to do some surprise, it was impossible that he didn't do anything. Tonight, she was afraid that it wouldn't be so easy to pass it peacefully. Ari, Oscar bless me, please don't do anything funny. Otherwise, if that bastard really dared to ruin her career, she definitely wouldn't let him have it easy. Chapter 360. At this time, on the main stage, Ning Xueluo, who was complacent, rolled her eyes and thought of something. The corners of her mouth rose slightly. Then she looked at Ning Shi in the far corner and said in a soft voice, Ning Shi, can you come over here? Hearing Ning Xueluo's invitation, Fang Ya and the others were confused. Why did she ask that woman to come up? However, since it was Ning Xueluo's request, they wouldn't disagree. Xiao Dao glanced at Ning Xueluo and said angrily, Sister Shi, let's go, otherwise, others will think that we are afraid of her. What can she do in front of so many people? It was not good to refuse directly on such an occasion. Besides, there was a live broadcast in the hotel. Ning Shi narrowed her eyes. After so many years of fighting, she could guess some of Ning Xueluo's bad intentions, so Ning Shi didn't hesitate. She stood up slowly, walked to the main stage calmly, and stood in front of Ning Xueluo. Seeing the two of them standing side by side, some of the actors in the crew sneered secretly. This scene was really interesting. If Ning Shi's admirer sent a so-called surprise later, it would be even more perfect. Ning Xueluo invited Ning Shi to sit beside her warmly, and then said, Ning Shi, I heard that you're very interested in the top gourmet masters in the gourmet circle. The position just now was not good. You can see them more clearly from here. You can't see those masters usually. After Ning Xueluo said that, she held Su Yang's arm naturally and leaned on Su Yang's body. They looked very intimate. Ning Shi smiled politely and didn't say anything. She knew that Ning Xueluo didn't ask her to go on the stage with a high-end plot. It was just to disgust her. Humph, I don't know what you're feeling, but you look so calm. What a good actress. Fang Ya sneered at Ning Shi, while the rest of the crew members whispered to each other and occasionally looked at Ning Shi with amusement in their eyes. What kind of surprise do you think Ning Shi's suitor will give us? If he doesn't come soon, our banquet will be over. Who knows? Don't guess what he's thinking. Ha ha ha, let's enjoy the feast first. Don't lose your appetite later. Otherwise, you'll suffer a great loss. Then, under the devout gazes of the guests, Mr. Daniel paused for a moment before he started cooking dinner. He suddenly turned to the guests and spoke in fluent Chinese. Tonight, I am extremely honored to be invited to attend the banquet of the beautiful and honorable Miss Ning. I will cook a delicious dinner for you, your friends, and your distinguished guest. With that, the old man bowed to Ning Shi and Ning Xueluo in a very gentlemanly manner. Beautiful and noble Miss Ning, I wish you a good night. Ning Xueluo smiled happily and nodded at the old man. Seeing this, the old man frowned and was a little confused. He was talking to Miss Ning Shi. Why did the woman next to her keep nodding to him? However, the old man didn't care too much. His task was to prepare the banquet. As for the rest, It had nothing to do with him. Chapter 361. Soon, the first dessert with A as the sous chef and Mr. Daniel as the head chef was ready. Beautiful and honorable Miss Ning, the Chinese name for this dessert is Premium Frozen Chocolate Ice Cream Sundae. Although the name is a little complicated, you can try the taste first. With that, Mr. Daniel personally carried the dessert to the main stage. The food reporters were going crazy. Not only did Daniel make it himself, but he also gave it to them. It was such an honor. I didn't expect it to be that kind of dessert. Damn it, is he going to defy the heavens? There are almost 30 types of cocoa in the sundae. 14 of them are the most expensive and delicious cocoa in the world, and there's even edible gold on the sundae. It's not dessert, it's all money. Some food reporters had only heard about it, but it was the first time they saw it with their own eyes. Moreover, it was made by Daniel, so they were very excited. Most girls liked this kind of delicate food, and Ning Xueluo was naturally attracted by the dessert in Daniel's hand. Seeing Daniel walking over gracefully, her heart beat faster, and from time to time, she looked at Ning Xi with a meaningful smile. Thank you. Su Yang was very attentive. He reached out to take the dessert in Daniel's hand. However, Daniel didn't buy it. He said seriously, Sir, I'm sorry, this is a special dessert. It's not for you. Ning Xueluo chuckled when she saw Su Yang's awkward face. She pulled Su Yang's arm and said, Brother Yang, it's fine. Let Mr. Daniel give it to me. Brother Yang, you don't have to join in the fun. Su Yang smiled helplessly and moved away. He thought that the top chefs were a bit weird, so he let them be. When Daniel walked to Ning Xueluo, she immediately smiled sweetly and said, Mr. Daniel, thank you. After that, Ning Xueluo reached out to take the plate of tempting ice cream. However, at the very next second, Mr. Daniel's actions exceeded everyone's expectations. Mr. Daniel was confused. He stared at Ning Xueluo and said, Miss, I didn't prepare the desserts for you. Not for me. Ning Xueluo was surprised. Then who is it for? Didn't you say? Miss Ning. Sorry, the Miss Ning I mentioned is Ning Xi, Miss Ning. Daniel's tone was firm. He didn't even look at Ning Xue. He bypassed her and walked straight to Ning Xi under countless surprised gazes. Beautiful and noble Miss Ning, please have a taste. The old man probably didn't do it on purpose, but the words beautiful and honorable seemed to be deliberately emphasized in the ears of the others, as if to say that only Ning Xi was worthy of these two adjectives. Even Su Yang and Fang Yue were dumbfounded, let alone Ning Xueluo. After the old man finished speaking, there was a dead silence. After a long time, sporadic sounds could be heard from the crowd. Are you kidding me? Miss Ning is not Ning Xueluo, but Ning Xi? No way. How could such a thing happen? Is it a prank? Although such a shocking thing had happened, Ning Xi's expression was the same as before. From the moment she entered until now, whether she was ridiculed, or ridiculed in public, to the old man's words, her expression had never changed. He was completely unperturbed, and even had a hint of being unfathomable. Chapter 363. After seeing Ning Xi's fitting room last time, I vaguely felt that Ning Xi's background might be very powerful. Sure enough, her pursuers are really awesome. Fang Yue kept saying that Ning Xi was jealous of Ning Xueluo. What's there to be jealous of? Exactly. She's single now and has a lot of high-quality pursuers. She's even better than Ning Xueluo. On the main stage, Mr. Daniel was still waiting for Ning Xi's comment. Miss Ning Xi, please comment. Ning Xi took a bite under countless gazes and replied politely, This is the most delicious and incredible ice cream I've ever eaten in my life. Thank you for coming all the way here. Thank you for your comment. It's my honor. Daniel left the main stage in satisfaction and began to prepare the dinner. Ning Xi ignored the discussions around her. She never paid extra attention to people who weren't important to her. After accepting the old man's kindness, Ningxi returned to her seat. She held her chin and looked at Xiao Dao, who was completely stunned. She teased, "Xiao Dao, do you want to eat ice cream?" "Eat." Xiao Dao suddenly came back to her senses and then blurted out resolutely, "Yes. I want to eat it." Xiao Dao looked at the ice cream Ningxi brought back excitedly and then stared at Ningxi blankly. "Sister Shi, these two masters, did they really come for you? He wasn't hired by Su Yang?" Ningxi looked helpless. Yes. Su Yang didn't invite them. Now can you be happy and eat something? You've been crying all night. Xiao Dao wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Sister Shi, why didn't you tell me earlier? You made me suffer for so long. There were so many delicious food and I didn't even get a bite. No, I have to eat more. No, I don't want Faye Williams ice cream. I want to eat something better." Humph. Then she swallowed and stared at the ice cream. "But can I really eat this ice cream? They all say it's very expensive." Ningxi directly picked up the pure gold spoon that was specially made for desserts, scooped a mouthful of ice cream, and fed it to Xiao Dao. Xiao Dao greedily inhaled the sweet scent that assailed her nostrils. She took a bite and said, "Oh, it's delicious. It's really delicious. How can there be such delicious ice cream?" Ningxi looked at Xiao Dao's chubby little face with a gentle expression. Then, she thought of something and an imperceptible cold light flashed across her eyes. That bastard, he definitely did it on purpose. First, he deliberately mystified her so that she was constantly on tenterhooks. Then, when she was at her most nervous, he suddenly gave her a piece of candy, causing her mood to fluctuate as if she was on a roller coaster. Damn it. Was it that fun to play around with her? What was wrong with him? Not far away, Ning Xueluo heard the conversation between Ningxi and Xiao Dao. Her heart was filled with anger and hatred. At this moment, Su Yang's romantic proposal became a joke. Who was the main character of this wrap-up party? Soon, the first appetizer was ready with Mr. Daniel as the head chef. Coincidentally, it was the same as Faye Williams' choice. It was also a scallop white truffle. Everyone looked at each other and began to focus on eating. Then, everyone's face revealed an incomparably strange expression. Chapter 364. Even though I'm a layman, I know the dishes made by the two masters are really, so delicious. It's the same dish, but 100 times more delicious than the previous one. It's amazing. How did they do it? Can anyone explain it to us? We only know how delicious it is, but we don't know how to cook it. Where's the reporter teacher? Tell us. Yes. Come on, let's give a professional review. In the urging of the crowd, the senior food reporter was tasting the food seriously without saying a word. Then he shushed them and closed his eyes. Don't talk. I want to remember this taste. This is the only chance in my life. The performance of this senior food reporter was not too exaggerated. Several of his colleagues and many others at the scene had similar reactions. In the corner, Xiao Dao was eating happily. It's delicious. I also want to know why it's so delicious. Ningxi glanced at the truffles on the plate and said, "First of all, it's because of the different cooking techniques. The cooperation of the two masters almost made such a simple dish perfect. Secondly, it's because of the difference in ingredients. You know, even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice, so ingredients are also very important to cooking. If I'm not wrong, the white truffle this time comes from the world's best quality white pine tree, Alba. It's also known as the fruit of God, and it's extremely rare and expensive. Furthermore, only the essence of the tree has been extracted, so you can imagine the final result." Xiao Dao's eyes widened. No wonder it's so delicious. Oh my God. I feel like I'm eating gold. Then she looked at Ningxi with admiration. "Sister Shi, you know so much." Ningxi smiled. "Because I also like to cook, so I do some research. I'll cook for you when I have time. But I'm afraid you won't like my cooking after eating the master's dishes. How could it be? Sister Shi, you made it yourself. How can it be the same? When Ning Shi was speaking, the people around her also pricked up their ears to listen. After listening, they all showed a look of sudden realization and then looked at the reporter for confirmation. The food reporter nodded repeatedly. It seems that Miss Ning Shi is also knowledgeable. No wonder her pursuer didn't hesitate to invite two heavyweight masters. Other than Ning Xueluo, Su Yang, and Fang Ya, everyone enjoyed the meal very much. Su Yang's expression was extremely ugly. Tonight's wrapping-up banquet was originally prepared for Ning Shi, but in the end, it was stolen by an unknown suitor of Ning Shi. Su Yang subconsciously looked at Ning Xueluo. At that moment, Ning Xueluo's expression was so gloomy that it seemed like it could drip water. However, Su Yang could understand. If it was anyone else, they would probably mind. After all, this was a once-in-a-lifetime proposal. All the carefully prepared romance had turned into embarrassment. Soon, Su Yang gritted his teeth as if he had finally made a decision. He quietly walked to a secluded corner of the hotel and made a phone call. Dad, the situation is like this, so I want to ask Uncle He Shin for a favor, otherwise. Xue Luo and I. Su Yang's expression wasn't good. It was obvious that the tone on the other side of the phone wasn't good. Chapter 365. On the stage, Ning Xueluo stared at Su Yang with a smile. She had already guessed why Su Yang called her. In the past few days, there was indeed a great god living in the Su family. He was the founder of the most famous high-end restaurant in China, Green Lotus. He had cooked delicacies for high-ranking officials in Great Britain, France, Germany, and so on. He was born in the family of the god of cooking. When he was young, he was even gilded in several countries. In recent years, he had disappeared and rarely appeared in public. However, such a master cookery had a close relationship with the Su family. It was because of He Shin that Su Yang was able to ask Fei William for help. Su Yang did not dare to do anything to He Shin because of He Shin's identity. However, the current situation forced his father to ask He Shin. It was not only because of Ning Xueluo, but also because of Su Yang and the Su family. After a while, Su Yang finally put on a smile. Ning Xueluo, who was in the distance, had a cold glint in her eyes. She was slightly relieved. Judging from Su Yang's expression, his father must have been convinced. Only Su Yang's father could invite someone like He Shin. Su Yang's father was studying abroad when he was young, and he was He Shin's classmate. It was said that He Shin had helped He Shin a lot. As long as Su Yang's father asked, He Shin would definitely help out for his father's sake. As long as He Shin was here, even though he could not beat Daniel in cooking, his influence would not only be limited to cooking. Soon, Su Yang walked back to Ning Xueluo and smiled softly. Xueluo, don't be angry. There will be a bigger surprise later. Uncle He Shin will come and cook for you personally. Ning Xueluo was surprised. She shook her head and said, Yang, what are you doing? Why would I be angry? It's rare for my sister to be happy tonight. I don't want to compare with her, and I don't want to fight with her. I just want Yang to be by my side. Hearing this, Su Yang held Ning Xue in his arms and said in a softer voice, Xue Luo, I know you don't like to compete with others, but tonight belongs to you. I won't let anyone steal your limelight. I don't think Xiaoxi will either. Just let her suffer a little. After Su Yang finished speaking, he sighed inwardly. Previously, because of Kui Keijing's matter, he had indeed neglected and wronged Xue Luo too much. After all, this was the girl that he was going to spend the rest of his life with. Tonight was such an important night, no matter what, he had to make her happy. In the end, Ning Xue Luo nodded her head obediently. Her gaze fell on Ning Shi, who was still enjoying the delicacies. She sneered in her heart. Ning Shi, you want to fight with me? Tonight's banquet was extraordinarily lively. It even attracted a large number of reporters to surround the hotel. However, the hotel had temporarily increased a large number of security guards to prevent outsiders from entering. At this moment, Ningxi was talking to Mr. Daniel about food ingredients and cooking. Mr. Daniel was very kind and patiently answered Ningxi's questions like an elder. Thank you, Master Daniel. You're really amazing. Ningxi was full of joy. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm afraid that some people won't agree, I might want to accept you as my disciple. Mr. Daniel teased like an old urchin. It was obvious that he liked this little friend who loved cooking very much. Just when Ningxi was about to say something, a sudden cold snort spread through the whole place. Chapter 366. Timpi. A bunch of Western worshipping fools. What's so good about that? It's not even half as good as our ancestors. The history of our Chinese cuisine is broad and profound, with a long history. Any of the 8 major cuisines is enough to defeat those foreigners in a second. Fang Yue stood on the main stage and sneered. Her words were too harsh, and someone couldn't help but refute. Beauty, you can't say that. Our food is naturally good, but country F is also famous for its food. We can only say that each country has its own strength. That's because you haven't tasted top-notch Chinese cuisine. Otherwise, let's see if you can still say something like that. Fang Yue looked at Ningxi disdainfully and rebuked. It's because there are so many Western worshipping fools like you that our ancestors' things are gradually declining. Instead of supporting your own country, you all go and worship things from other countries. Shallow. Shallow to the extreme. Not only are you shallow, but you're also embarrassing yourself. In the corner, Ningxi narrowed her eyes. She knew that Fang Yue would not have said those words. However, Ning Xueluo was behind Fang Yue. As expected, with Ning Xueluo's personality, she would not give up so easily. Now that Y's surprise had surfaced, Ningxi no longer had to be on tenterhooks. She no longer had any psychological pressure, so she ate leisurely as she watched them struggle. The atmosphere was initially good, but they did not expect a nationalistic youth like Fang Yue to suddenly appear. Everyone's expression was a little awkward. Especially the 2 foreign chefs. They were fluent in Mandarin, so they naturally heard Fang Yue's words. For a moment, their expressions did not look too good. We're having a rap party tonight. We're acting in a Chinese costume drama. Why did you hire foreign chefs? What a joke. Fang Yue continued to mock them. Ning Xueluo looked very satisfied. She stared at Ningxi and sneered. All of this was within her plan. Next, she just had to watch Ningxi become the target of public criticism and wait for the letter from the top chef in China to arrive. Tonight, it would still be perfect. Gradually, some people on the scene began to agree with Fang Yue's words. They pondered and said, actually, what Miss Fang Yue said makes sense. The top chefs in our country are indeed very good. They are not inferior to those 2 foreigners at all. Let's talk about Mr. He Xin. As the founder of the top restaurant in China, Green Lotus, he has been invited by the leaders of various countries. This is enough to prove that our Chinese chefs are the best and not inferior to Western chef. It's not just a letter of congratulations. There's also a legendary figure in the world of chefs in Cathay, Old Master Cai Fengxian. His ancestors were all royal chefs who cooked for the emperor. It's not an exaggeration to say that his culinary skills have been improved by his ancestors. It's not even an exaggeration to say that he has reached the acme of perfection. He's even been cooked by the Queen of England and given great honor. That's true. Old Mr. Cai Fengxian is indeed a legendary figure, but it's impossible to invite him. It's simply impossible. It's just a waste of words. Even if Mr. He Xin wanted to invite him, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens, okay? I don't think so. The romance and delicacy of a Western chef is something that a Chinese chef can never compare to. Nonsense. Western chefs are cold and flashy. How can they compare to us Chinese chefs who are full of humanity? Chapter 367. As the discussion went on, representatives who supported Western food and Chinese food began to speak out one after another. Not only those who knew about Western food, but even those who didn't were patriotic. So more and more people joined in the debate, and in the end, everyone was in a heated argument. Faye William was the most embarrassed one, because he was a mixed blood and didn't know who to support. Seeing that the two factions were quarreling, the time was ripe. Ning Xueluo's eyes suddenly lit up, and she hurriedly glanced at Fang Ya. Fang Ya caught Ning Xueluo's gaze and immediately understood what she meant. She immediately stood up and said, "We'll know who's better after the PK. Ning, she is so capable that she can even invite Mr. Daniel. It must be easy for her to invite a chef called Hishin, right? Yes. Let Ning she invite him. That's killing two birds with one stone. Then you don't have to quarrel. Facts speak louder than word." For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Ning Shi. Ning Shi looked indifferent and didn't respond. Seeing that Ning Shi didn't say anything, Fang Ya naturally wouldn't let her go so easily. She continued to ask, "Ning Shi, what do you think? You invited him, and now everyone is quarreling because of him. You can't just stand by and watch, can you?" That's right, a perfectly fine banquet has turned into such a mess, making everyone unhappy. Ning Shi has so many pursuers. Call them one by one. There must be a way, right? Xiao Dao tugged at the corner of Ning Shi's clothes. "Sister Shi, can you ask your pursuer to invite Mr. Hishin?" Hearing that, Ning Shi took a look at Xiao Dao and gave her a cherry. She said lightly, "Xiao Dao, everyone has their own preferences. Some people like to eat radish, so does that mean that cabbage is inferior? If others like it, let them invite him. We just need to eat happily." Oh. Xiao Dao didn't fully understand what Ning Shi meant, but she still nodded. She thought about it carefully and realized that she did talk too much just now. Who was Hishin? In the world of Chinese chefs, he was second only to Mr. Cai Fengxian. How could he invite him? He didn't even know how he managed to invite Mr. Daniel, and now he had to ask for a congratulatory letter. This was simply unrealistic. "Alright, I'm just asking. Actually, I don't think it's possible either. These people are too much. Thanks to you, I got to eat so much delicious food. It's fine if they don't feel grateful, but in the end, they're even making things difficult for you." Xiao Dao was annoyed. After complaining, she murmured, "By the way, it's impossible to invite Mr. Hishin. It's just Fang Ya and the others who are making a fuss and trying to make Sister Shi lose her limelight. What do you think, Ning Shi? Your pursuer is so capable. By the way, ask him to invite Mr. Hishin here, so that we can broaden our horizons." Chapter 368. Actually, Ning Shi is quite pitiful. She managed to suppress Ning Xueluo's limelight with much difficulty, but this kind of accident happened. Someone whispered. Fang Ya said faintly, "Who can she blame? Who asked her to be so pretentious?" Su Yang proposed to Xueluo, but she didn't let it go. She had to jump out and make her presence known. "Look for him. Why aren't you looking for him now? We're all waiting. What do you think, Beauty Ning Shi, say something. Are you going to invite him or not?" Fang Ya became even more arrogant when Ning Shi kept quiet. "Forget it." At this moment, Ning Xueluo, who was on the main stage, suddenly said. Immediately, everyone's eyes fell on Ning Xueluo. "Since everyone wants to try Mr. Hishin's cooking, let Brother Yang and I invite him. Don't make things difficult for Ning Shi," Ning Xueluo said softly. Hearing this, everyone came to a sudden realization. The meaning behind Ning Xueluo's words was also very clear. Ning Shi's suitor could only invite Daniel for him. Was it even possible to invite a congratulatory letter? No one thought that Ning Shi's pursuer had the ability to do so. "Wait, Xueluo, you mean you and Su Yang are here to invite a congratulatory letter?" Suddenly, a food reporter came back to his senses and exclaimed. "Yes, I believe everyone will be able to see Mr. Hishin in a while." Ning Xueluo's face was full of confidence. Her previous unwillingness and disappointment had completely disappeared. "Oh my God, Xueluo, I can't believe you could invite Mr. Hishin. Am I dreaming?" Fang Ya pretended to have an exaggerated expression and almost danced with joy. Well, don't worry. Tonight is not only the banquet, but also my engagement day with Brother Yang. So, Brother Yang and I will try our best to satisfy everyone's requests. Ning Xueluo said elegantly. As Ning Xueluo's voice fell, the crowd was in an uproar. Everyone was extremely excited. Since Ning Xueluo had said so, Mr. Hixin should be coming. Tonight, not only would they be able to taste Mr. Daniel's top-notch Western food, but they would also be able to see Mr. Hixin. This was something that they wouldn't even dare to think about on a normal day. At most, in a few breaths, the hotel door opened. Countless exclamations could be heard from the reporters outside. A middle-aged man in a traditional Chinese suit slowly walked in. Congratulations, congratulations. It's Mr. Hixin. It really is Mr. Hixin. Su Yang and Xue Luo really invited Mr. Hixin over. Holy shit. The food bloggers were so excited that they lost their composure when they saw Hixin. Uncle Hixin, thank you for coming. Su Yang and Ning Xueluo walked up to them respectfully. Yes. Hixin looked at Ning Xueluo and Su Yang and nodded. He had heard about what happened tonight from Su Yang's father. First of all, congratulations. I don't have much time. Let's get started. Hixin said to Su Yang and walked straight to Daniel. Hello, Mr. Daniel. I didn't expect to meet you here, Hixin said with a smile. Oh, Mr. Hixin, I've long heard of your name. You're a top chef in China. It's my honor to meet you today. Mr. Daniel was also very polite. Hixin's culinary skills might not be as good as Daniel's, but Hixin's culinary skills were not limited to that. After all, he had been invited by the executives of various countries and was praised countless times. In terms of status, he was definitely not inferior to Daniel. May I borrow this place? Hixin asked with a smile. Chapter 369. Daniel thought about it. He had just finished cooking the main course, so there was no reason for him to take over the chef's seat. In the end, he nodded. All right, my mission is over. I'll give up my seat to you. Daniel then led his team to the VIP area and gave up his seat to Hixin. Everyone exclaimed when they saw Daniel giving up his seat. They thought that Daniel was admitting defeat. Mr. Daniel, isn't it inappropriate for us to give up our seat? Hixin's culinary skills are not as good as yours. Mr. Daniel definitely has the upper hand in every aspect. A frowned. Our main course is done. There's no reason for us to take up the seat. Daniel did not seem to care. Since Daniel said so, and naturally did not say anything else. After all, at Daniel's level, he would not care too much. In less than half an hour, Hixin had finished cooking a few unique Chinese delicacies. The rich fragrance immediately spread to every corner of the hotel, causing many people to drool. Ms. Xue Luo, my blessings for you and Su Yang are all in the dishes, Hixin said to Su Yang and Ning Xueluo who were in front of him. Thank you, Uncle Hixin. Ning Xueluo was smiling. Su Yang was the same. Due to Hixin's arrival, all the awkwardness and unwillingness from before were no longer there. The one who should be feeling unwillingness should be Ning Xi. How blissful. Even Mr. Hixin came to congratulate Su Yang and Xue Luo's engagement. He's the top chef in China, unlike someone who tried to hire a foreign chef, only to be defeated by our Mr. Hixin. Fang Ya purposely looked in Ning Xueluo's direction and sneered. All right, don't spout nonsense. Ning Xueluo stopped her. I'm not spouting nonsense. The truth is, Ning Xueluo's suitor wants to compete with your brother Su Yang. What a joke. I don't know where your confidence comes from. Fang Ya regained her arrogance and stared at Ning Xi, mocking her. That's right. We can only hire a foreign chef. If you're so capable, invite a top chef in China to take a look. PH, how dare you compare yourself to Su Yang? You're so full of yourself. Fang Ya and the other members of the crew started chattering non-stop. In the distance, Ning Xi smiled and shook her head. These people were indeed interesting. She even had a feeling that if she replied to them, she would be instantly assimilated and turned into an idiot. Mr. Daniel is an external chef after all. He can't be compared to Mr. He Shin in China. Indeed. Although Mr. Daniel's Western cuisine is the best in the world, I still prefer our Chinese cuisine. If you like Chinese delicacies, that only proves your taste. I like Western cuisine. I feel that Mr. Daniel's Western cuisine is superb and unrivaled. Ha! What a joke. That was only the acme of perfection. Do you know what it means to be in a trance? Just as everyone was discussing and refusing to give in to each other, there was a squeaking sound. The door of the banquet hall was silently pushed open from the outside. Under the dazzling crystal lamp, a young man was supporting an old man as they stood at the door. The old man was dressed in coarse hemp clothes and had a head of white hair. He looked hale and hearty and had the demeanor of an immortal. At that moment, some of the guests were quarreling, some were mocking Ningxi, and some were watching the show. The first person to notice the old man was a middle-aged man. He was arguing with the crowd, but he suddenly looked at the door and was speechless. Elder Cai. Chapter 370. In an instant, everyone followed the gaze of the indignant man. In the next second, everyone was stunned, especially Fang Ya, who had been mocking Ningxi a second ago. Her expression was as if she had seen a ghost. That person is, that old man looks so familiar, shit. His Cai Fengxian. I'm not dreaming, am I? Someone rubbed his eyes. What are you talking about? Are you sure you're not mistaken? No. It's Elder Cai. Mr. Cai Fengxian. I've seen him on TV. Someone exclaimed. I've seen the young man next to him on TV too. Isn't he Elder Cai's eldest son, Cai Cheng? If you don't believe me, I'll search for him online. National TV had previously produced a very popular food program, which had once caused a gourmet craze. The last episode was dedicated to old Mr. Cai Fengxian, which left a deep impression on the people. Therefore, besides the professional food reporters, there were many who knew Cai Fengxian, including Fang Ya and the others. The young man couldn't contain his excitement. He was the first to greet her. Elder Cai, do you remember me? 8 years ago in Qing City, there was a small restaurant where you taught me personally. The old man pondered and said, is it called Laifu Restaurant? Are you Laifu? The young man's eyes reddened. Yes. It's Laifu Restaurant. I'm Yuan Laifu. I didn't expect you to remember me. If it wasn't for your guidance, I wouldn't have made up my mind to leave my hometown to study. I wouldn't have achieved what I have today. Someone recognized the young man. Oh, I remember this man. He's quite famous. Isn't he the head chef of a high-class restaurant in the capital? I heard he worked his way up from a small village. I didn't expect him to have such a relationship with Elder Cai. Hearing this, everyone admired Elder Cai even more. Elder Cai really has students all over the world. That's her charisma. After sighing at Elder Cai, everyone was confused. Why would Elder Cai suddenly appear here? Elder Cai, why are you here? The young man asked excitedly. Father is here to celebrate with Miss Ningxi, answered Elder Cai's son, Cai Cheng. As soon as these words came out, the entire place fell into a deathly silence. When everyone came back to their senses, their first reaction was to look at Ningxi in the distance as if they had seen a ghost. Fang Ya and the rest of the cast were stunned, including Su Yang. Ning Xueluo's smile froze on her face. Damn! This Ningxi! Absolutely amazing! First it was the god of cookery then it was the godfather of Western cuisine, Master Daniel, and now even Cai Fengxian, the founder of China's gourmet industry. I'm fucking convinced. Ha 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 ha, did you see Fang Ya and Ning Xueluo's expressions? Just a second ago, Fang Ya was acting like a snob, barking like a madman, and now old Master Cai is here. I'm dying of laughter. Ningxi is so tough. So what if he's acting tough? He has the capital to act tough. Moreover, he could really pretend to be dazzling. Out of these 3 people, which one of them didn't instantly turn Faye William into slag? Even Mr. Hishin can't do it. I'm so happy. This banquet alone is enough for me to make headlines for the next few months. Chapter 371. Hey, doesn't your news agency have a gourmet section too? Get your gourmet reporter here too. It's such a good opportunity. Yes, I'll call him right now. Our gourmet editor is a die-hard fan of Grandpa CAI. Even the desktop background of his computer is made by the old man. I told him that Faye William would be here tonight and that he had to come to report on the news, but he didn't care at all. If he knew that the old man would be here, he would definitely regret it. Ha 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 ha. In the corner, Xiao Dao was so excited that she was shaking Ningxi's arm. Arth. Elder CAI. It's really Elder CAI. Sister Shi, you're amazing. Just like Doraemon. You can conjure up whoever you want. When on earth did you call? Why didn't I know? Ningxi was speechless. She hadn't even touched her phone, okay? And what the hell was this Doraemon? When Cai Fengxian appeared, she was so shocked that she thought she was hallucinating, and she was sure that it wasn't YS who invited him. Regardless of whether he could invite him or not, that guy was only interested in messing with her. There was no way he would help her out, so who was it that helped her out? Could it be? Ningxi's heart skipped a beat. A certain man's cold profile appeared in her mind. The only person who could invite Mr. Cai Fengxian was probably, when he saw the 2 at the door, the hotel owner ran up to them and greeted them warmly. Elder Cai, why didn't you tell me you were coming? I could have sent someone to pick you up. This is really too rude. Cai Fengxian waved his hand nonchalantly. There's no need for that. Cai Cheng explained, my father was asked by someone to come at the last minute. So that's how it is. The hotel owner showed an expression of sudden realization and looked meaningfully at Ningxi in the corner. When everyone heard this, they were even more certain that Ningxi had asked someone to invite them. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence? Chimph, so what? We have Mr. Hishin. Mr. Hishin is the best chef in China, Fang Ya said disdainfully. That's right, Mr. Hishin is the founder of China's best restaurant, Green Lotus. The other members of the crew also chimed in. At that moment, some food bloggers and food reporters looked at Fang Ya and the actors as if they were looking at pure idiots. They had some doubts before, but now they were sure that Fang Ya and the actors were indeed idiots. They were complete idiots. They did not know anything, but they were still pretending to be smart. This was the real shame. Grandmaster Cai. Hishin walked up to Cai Fengxian and greeted respectfully. Yes, we meet again. Elder Cai nodded. I didn't expect Grandmaster Cai to show up. Back then, I was reluctant to come here. But now, it seems I have come to the right place. If Grandmaster Cai has the time, I hope you can give me some pointers, Hishin said with a smile. When Fang Ya and the other actors saw Hishin's attitude toward Elder Cai, they were stunned speechless. Their expressions of shock and embarrassment were indescribable. On the other side, Daniel from the VIP seats walked straight towards Cai Fengxian. The 2 old men looked at each other for a long time, separated by a few steps. It took Daniel a long time to calm down. Old buddy, long time no see. Chapter 372. Cai Fengxian heaved a long sigh and looked nostalgic. Long time no see. It's been 10 years since we last met in Country F, right? Yes. I'm afraid we won't have another 10 years to live. It's rare for you to come to Country F. What do you think? We didn't decide the winner 10 years ago. Do you want to continue today? Cai Fengxian's eyes lit up. Of course. Daniel answered cheerfully. Hearing the conversation between the two masters, the boss of the hotel was excited beyond words. He had planned to make use of Su Yang and Ning Shuiluo's proposal to make the hotel famous. This unexpected development made him ecstatic. A proposal banquet was not as good as a gimmick as a duel between the top masters of Chinese and Western cuisines at the Royal Duke Hotel in the capital. He had made a fortune this time. He had to thank Miss Ningxi properly later. She had been so quiet, but she had made such a big move. At this moment, a large group of reporters suddenly rushed into the hotel, and all of them ran in the direction of the banquet hall. The hotel's security guards and waiters stopped them. "Where are you from? This is a private banquet. You can't come in without an invitation. I'm a reporter from XX Food Channel. I'm a photographer from XX Newspaper. I'm a contributing editor from XX Magazine. I heard that Mr. Daniel and Elder CI are here tonight, so I came all the way here. Let us in." The reporters were all asking for help. The security guards and waiters looked embarrassed. "No, we can't do that. We have our rules. Rules are made by people. Please make an exception." "That's right. We're all qualified reporters. We're not ordinary tabloid reporters. You can ask your manager if you don't believe me. I'm sure he'll agree." "Ah, wait a minute. I'll ask him." There were too many reporters tonight. Although the hotel had added a lot of security guards, they couldn't stop the reporters' enthusiasm. One of the waiters hurried to ask the manager for instructions. "It's a good thing for the hotel, but the two guests tonight are too important. We can't be careless." The manager couldn't make a decision, so he went to the boss. "There are reporters outside, clamoring to come in. Boss, what do you think?" The boss of the hotel was naturally happy to see that happen, but he couldn't make a decision on his own, so he went to discuss it with the organizers of the crew. After knowing the boss's intention, Wang Taihe, Guo Chisheng, and the others discussed it for a while. They all felt that this was a good opportunity to promote the movie, so they agreed on the spot. Thus, all that was left was the opinion of the most important person involved. The hotel owner rubbed his hands, walked up to the two masters, and explained the situation to them. Then he asked nervously, "These reporters have come especially for the two of you. I wonder if the two of you are willing to be photographed?" Daniel and Cai Fengxian looked at each other and then at Ningxi in the corner. Daniel said, "I'm here for the beautiful Miss Ningxi and her distinguished guests. As long as they are her guests, I have no objection." In other words, Daniel wouldn't allow them to film unless they were invited by Ningxi as her guests. Well, the hotel owner looked troubled. He looked at Cai Fengxian and asked, "What about you, Elder Cai?" Chapter 373. "I agree with Daniel," Elder Cai said. "Ah, all right. Looks like I can only ask Ningxi now." Thus, the hotel boss ran towards Ningxi. "Miss Ning, you should have heard what Mr. Daniel and Elder Cai said. They will only accept your guests' photos. There are so many reporters waiting outside. What do you think?" Ningxi lowered her eyes and thought for a moment. Now that everyone was happy to see the result, if she rejected now, she would offend too many people. Actually, it was fine to give those reporters some face, but Ningxi considered her words and said, "This banquet is for the wrapping up of Under the Heavens, not my personal banquet. Since producer Wang and director Wang have no objections, I naturally have no objections. However, Mr. Feng, I'll have to trouble you to screen the reporters outside. Only those with qualifications can come in. Also, one more thing, they must not disturb the order of the banquet. Otherwise, I'll have to ask them to leave. The two masters have come from afar, and everyone should not want any unpleasantness. What do you think?" Ningxi's words were watertight, and Mr. Feng's eyes revealed a trace of admiration. He was the one who wanted this banquet to go smoothly the most, so he naturally agreed. Of course. I'll go and tell them now, and I'll send more security to maintain order. We will definitely not disturb the banquet and the two masters tonight. Soon, a large group of reporters came in. The reporters were cooperative. After all, they were professionals in the food industry. Just based on their respect for the two masters, they did not dare to act rashly. After thanking Ning Shi with their eyes, they all quietly found a corner to set up their cameras. A collision of Chinese and Western food culture had officially begun. Mr. Feng was anxiously arranging for people to prepare the dishes. The waiter hurriedly handed over a list. "Boss, these are the ingredients that the two masters need." Old Feng looked at it and was stunned. "Ayo, look at my brain. I forgot the most important thing. I did not expect this. Our hotel definitely does not have enough ingredients. Mr. Daniel has prepared his own ingredients, but now we need to change the menu. We still need a lot of other ingredients, and I'm afraid it's too late to transfer them now. What should we do?" The manager was also anxious. Seeing that the two masters had already started to prepare, but their hotel didn't have enough ingredients, the hotel owner was about to vomit to death. Seeing that the boss's expression wasn't right, the guests started to whisper to each other. "Hey, what's wrong with the boss? Why do you look so pale? It seems like there aren't enough ingredients." Because if they wanted to PK now, they would definitely need double the amount of ingredient. Moreover, the two masters have very high requirements for the ingredients. Ordinary ones definitely won't do. Damn. No way. We've been waiting for so long. Don't tell me it's going to be ruined. What's going on? Moreover, there are so many reporters here. We can't let them all go back because of this kind of mistake, right? This is hilarious. Humph. You'd better not. In the corner, Fang Yue whispered, but this time she had learned her lesson and did not dare to speak too loudly. Ning Shualuo pretended to be calm on the surface, but she was actually very nervous in private. Naturally, she wanted nothing more than to fail. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.